Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. I hope that all of you have had a fantastic week. I hope you're looking forward to an awesome weekend. Students, in this class we are looking at IELTS reading about the world's health. More specifically about the World Health Organization and how it takes care of the world's health during a pandemic. Welcome, Fuang. Hi, Dylan, Sylviana. Nice to have you in the class. This is a members chat class. Everybody is welcome to watch. There's lots of learning to be had. This could be a passage for both the academic or the general IELTS. The General IELTS Section 3 passage is very, very similar to that of the academic. And the academic IELTS sometimes has a passage that's a little bit unique, and you will see what I mean by that with this passage today. Welcome, by the way, Dylan, to our group of members. It's great to have you here. Welcome, Chen, our chat moderator, here to help us answer questions. Hi, Romelia. Romelia, I still haven't seen that email about the chat moderation, so send me that email, and I'd love to talk to you about that. Students, this material is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Check us out there. For the general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. Both of those websites have our materials that fuel these live classes. This is our academic IELTS website here at aehelp.com. You can click this big red button that's just above my head there to join our premium IELTS package, get all of our practice exams, get our interactive courses, lesson videos, and much, much more. We're an IDP affiliate. We're a British Council partner. We're an IELTS test registration center. You are in great hands with us. And you can actually use the code READ9 to get an extra 10% off of the premium IELTS package. It's the cost is different in different countries, so check out your local cost and let us know if you have any questions. General IELTS, green background. Click this big red button here to join the premium IELTS package. Again, just above my head there. It is a one-time payment for lifetime access. We help thousands of students every day. You can check out their success stories by clicking there. And there are lots and lots of students who we are proud to say we have helped achieve their IELTS goals, and you can become one of those IELTS students by joining the premium IELTS package. Students, if you want to start with the apps, you're welcome to. Our apps are Academic IELTS Help, General IELTS Help. In your app stores, those apps will link to the respective websites, Academic IELTS Help to aehelp.com, General IELTS Help to gieltshelp.com. Instagram is IELTS_AEHelp and gielts help. And if you have questions about IELTS, immigration, studying abroad, English in general, send me an email. My email address is adrian@aehelp.com, or you can send us an email, admin@aehelp.com. Chen's also got the website in the chat there for everybody, for convenience sake. If you like to learn from hard copy books, you can do that. We've got them for you. We've got 2 academic, 2 general IELTS textbooks that you can order off of Amazon. Just search for these titles: AE Helps Academic IELTS, GE Helps General IELTS. And then our schedules always are up on our YouTube community board, so subscribe to our channel to get these live class schedules. You will see that we've got reading and then listening today for subscribers after this class. And on Saturday, we've got speaking part 2, speaking part 3. And then we've got a couple days off. And this week, we've got classes on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And we've actually got a special class for you on Thursday where we will have a guest in the class who is a former IELTS examiner. So he'll be interesting to talk with and get some insights into how the examiner's minds work. So that's something exciting and interesting for you. All right, students, we've got this reading for you as well this week, this reading video that we uploaded. Check that out when you have a chance. It's a really good video to teach you some important strategies for the reading section. We're going to use some of these strategies today in our reading, and we're going to have some of our members volunteer, hopefully, to read and discuss some questions as well. So the first step, as we get into this and start looking at the reading passage for today, the first step is, of course, to read the title and get an idea of the passage. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to visualize it and think logically about it. All right, let's do it. Here we go. Here is our passage today. This is coming from some new exams that we're developing in this year. So here we are. All right, let's do this. Let's read together. This is reading, so I want you to read. Students, as you're getting ready for the IELTS exam, you should read aloud. So silent reading is good. In the real exam, you read silently. Please do not read aloud. The proctor will probably ask you to leave if you do that. If you're like, the role of the World Health Organization. What? So yeah, no. But when you're at home, reading aloud is extremely useful. You practice your pronunciation. And there's another reason. What do you think? Why is it important to read aloud at home? And you know, I just don't think enough people do it. We somehow, once we learn how to read silently in our heads, it's really our go-to. We really kind of avoid reading aloud. So this is an important tip. And I want you to think about this. That's why I'm focusing on this for a moment, because I really want you to do this at least for 15-20 minutes each time that you're doing reading or practicing your reading. Romelia says there's an auditive impact. Yeah, there's actually a little bit more than just auditive, Romelia. Alexi says you will understand the chapter more clearly. Joao says you will practice your pronunciation. Romelia says it will not only be visual. That's right. So read aloud because there are many benefits to this for your learning. Firstly, it's called multiple sensory integration. Okay, so what that means is instead of, and this is, you're on the right track there, Romelia, instead of just using your eyes, you are also using your ears and your muscles, specifically your tongue, okay, the muscles of your mouth, and they all connect. Okay, so when you move your mouth, when you use your ears and your eyes, and they're all working together, it makes the information much more prominent. It's much more effective in many ways when you're learning a language or when you're learning information. Okay. Also, when you're reading aloud, you should focus on intonation. to improve your natural English. Okay, so these are two really big benefits of reading aloud. And you know, sometimes people say like, well, when I read aloud, I don't know what I'm reading. I'm just focusing on reading aloud. That's not necessarily good. If you can't really picture and understand what you read when you're reading aloud, there's definitely no guarantee that you'll do much better when you're reading silently. Okay, when people read silently, they tend to read quite quickly and focus even less in some ways. So you should be able to comprehend and remember information well when reading aloud. There's certainly no guarantee that if you are unable to do this, you will do better reading silently. Okay, so that's another reason to do this, to just improve your reading. Okay, all right. Yeah, Romelia says, now it dawned on me, it's like acting is there, right? Exactly. So it's like you're reenacting the script, right? So again, just to, to reiterate what I've already said here, read aloud at least 15 minutes each time you practice for the reading section. Okay? Because there's so many benefits to that. All right, I see some thumbs up. Fong says, good. And I know some of you do it, but I think there are many out there who know they should be doing it a little bit more, right? Okay, so that's why I like doing it with you in class. All right, so here we go. The role of the World Health Organization in a pandemic. All right. What do you think the chances are of getting this kind of a title in the IELTS? Here's a fun. It's kind of morbid. Here's an interesting question. Okay, so here's the title. The role of the WHO, World Health Organization, in a pandemic. Okay. What do you think? So what's the chance of getting a passage like this in the academic or the general IELTS if you were to sit the IELTS exam, I don't know, next week? What do you think? What do you think? What are the chances? 0, it'll never happen. It's random, maybe not. Alexi says it's random. Definitely you have as much chance to get this passage as maybe history or other topics. Joao says the probability is pretty high. Maybe. Joao Funk says, how important is the WHO influence during the COVID-19 pandemic? Okay, it didn't say COVID-19 here, Fung. It just said pandemic. Romelia says, not much, I guess it's a sensitive matter. Okay. I think the answer I'll give you is there is a good chance as any. Especially because IELTS likes to focus on prominent topics. This is my second time using the word prominent here in the last couple minutes, because IELTS likes to focus on prominent topics that most people are likely somewhat familiar with. Okay. So you will notice that, first of all, okay, it's impossible to guess exactly what you will have on your next exam, okay? It is virtually. So don't try to do that. Okay, so don't worry about that. All right, it's virtually impossible to do. All right, you like who said that? Alexi said you could get a topic about history or some other aspect of society or science for sure. However, you will notice that IELTS does like to pick topics that seem to be in the mainstream. Now, they will try to avoid extremely sensitive topics. So, for example, the conflict in Ukraine, Russia, very unlikely that they'll have a topic on that. However, they could have a topic that's related to conflict and war. And you could see that in the reading. You could possibly see that in the writing task 2 topic as well. So they do like to pick topics that are current, that are prominent. Okay, so obvious. So so there's a chance definitely that you could get this topic. Now, notice again here that the title of this passage is The Role of the WHO in a Pandemic. So, okay, before I get into that, so what does that mean for you? It's good to talk about current affairs when you're getting ready for the IELTS, okay? Like people say, is it good to listen to BBC News or to News in English? Yeah, absolutely, because you're listening to current affairs. So it's a very good idea to keep up with current topics when you are preparing for IELTS. And we could say listening to BBC can certainly be beneficial. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? Yeah, so current affairs, topics related. Like I say, they won't ask a topic about the conflict in Ukraine, Russia. It's too sensitive, right? It's too current. Notice how this one too, it's not asking about COVID-19 specifically, right? But it's discussing the role of the World Health Organization in a pandemic, right? It's also informative, right? So we learn from this topic, okay? All right. So when we think about this, okay, so you've got the World Health Organization. What's the role? Role means what they do, right? So if you had to guess, and based on your recent experience over the last few years, what did or what does WHO do when there's a pandemic? And if our topics ever get too sensitive, you'll probably know because they'll probably cut my feed on YouTube. You'll be like, and then that'll be the end of class, right? We'll try to stay away from that. But if it happens, you know what happened. Come save me. So I try to avoid that scenario. I'm not here to do politics with you. Even though I give you my opinions at times, as you know, I try to avoid political subjectivity. So, all right. So let's focus on this. So the role of the WHO in a pandemic. What is it? What is it? Think about it logically, right? So think about if you're working, visualize if you're working for the World Health Organization and, oh, there's a pandemic. What do? Right? Domenico got a good laugh out of that. Hopefully that won't happen. Right? It has to some YouTubers for sure that like to walk on the edge. Okay, Dylan says, informing people about how they can avoid catching infection. Can you simplify that for me, Dylan? So can you say that in a more concise way? So informing people about ways to avoid infection. Okay, sure. We can make that more concise. Lamia says set regulations. Yeah. What are you thinking about specifically, Romelia? Can you give me some examples of setting those regulations? Romelia says to mitigate the effect of the disease. Okay, Romelia, can you maybe give me some more details around what you mean by mitigating the effect? When you're thinking, students, let your mind go, let it move quickly, and think as fast and as much detail as possible. The more you're able to predict and the more accurately you're able to predict before you start reading, the better your comprehension and the better you will answer the questions in the reading passage and the more band scores you will get. It's just kind of that simple, right? So, Lamia, set regulations is a good idea. What kind of regulations, for instance, right? So I want you to use your, when you're thinking about this, especially for you academic students, you need to be academic, okay? So you need to follow the empirical process. It's the process of research, of logical thinking, right? When I say that, I mean that there should be order to your ideas as well, okay? So I want some more information here. Dylan, Romelia, Lamia gave me some ideas, but Fuang, Alexi, Domenico, Silviana, Raquea, I haven't seen anything from you yet. So what's the role of the WHO in a pandemic? Okay, so Alexi says prevention, so preventing the disease from spreading. Yeah. Silviana, sure. So Silviana says, how about finding a cure? Like a vaccine. Yes. Okay, very good. Now you're thinking. Chayani says to organize the supply of medical devices. Okay, so organize medical care. All right. Romelia says testing people. Yes. Okay, so now at home, if you are practicing this, what you'd want to do is you'd want to have a logical order of the steps that the WHO probably takes, right? So the first one that I would say, if you asked me, if you're like, hey, Adrian, what do you think the WHO does in a pandemic? I would say following the empirical process, okay? So how can I say this? Use your school thinking. Okay, first, second, third. Okay. All right. So I would say their first step would probably be assessment. So the spread, the danger, the speed. Okay. So I bet you the WHO has a very in-depth procedure for this, but they're assessing, right? So what could this be? Where did it start? Where is it spreading to? How many people are infected? How fast is this infection spreading? How dangerous it is? How deadly is it? What kind of populations is it affecting? Children, seniors, adolescents? So that would be, I think their first step is trying to figure out what's going on, right? Assessment, okay? And then obviously prevention, right? So that's where we would have lockdowns, information, masks, right? So public awareness, okay? And you know, it's not rocket, I'm not applying rocket science here. This is kind of what we do to most problems, right? So if you think about it, a pandemic is a problem. It's a health problem, right? And like with other problems, we look for solutions, and to come up with effective solutions, we go through a logical process, which usually involves assessment, planning, prevention, intervention, right? We'll probably have planning here, prevention, intervention, right? So intervention would be something like medicine or vaccines. And then probably even one more after intervention. So what do you think? What would be the fifth step here? We're all scientists. Put on your scientific cap. You assess, you plan, you prevent, you intervene. And then what do? Lock the doors and go home. I'm out. No, you should do something else first. Okay. Romelia says, research on the Cyrus structure. Not sure where you were going with that, Romelia. I don't know what that is. Domenico says, the WHO has been providing guidance to other countries to prevent the spread of the virus. Yeah, so that would be prevention, Domenico. What would I do at the end? What do you do at the end when you find a solution? Romelia says, research the virus structure. Alexi says, figure out the reason. Where did it come from? Who did it? What did it? Yeah, so that would be a part of what, Alexi? Simply put, follow-up, right? Okay. So, if I were the WHO, once intervention has been in place and the situation is under control, I would follow up. So, effectiveness of the vaccine. Change in society, social, cultural, economic, right? It's kind of what we're all going through right now in many parts of the world. We seem to kind of have ignored this in a big way, but I'm certain that for many of you it's a great big challenge, as it is for us here in Victoria. I'm not going to lie to you. Definitely a lot of people have been sick over the past 6 months here in my part of the world with all kinds of flus and viruses, and these are the negative consequences of wearing masks and disinfecting, and maybe a fairly low effectiveness of the vaccine itself, arguably, right? It's actually quite amazing, and this is where this is where the YouTube channel might go. Argh. It's actually quite amazing how little we are hearing about the effectiveness of all of these interventions and what's happening. People are just like, oh yeah, no, it's going on. Yeah, we're all kind of coughing and sick, and oh, I've had this cough for like the last 5 months, but no, it's okay. So it sounds to me like things probably weren't as effective as we had hoped, and that's why everybody's a little bit hush-hush, and you're on your own. Here's a vitamin C for you. Just take vitamin D and C, right? So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't follow the news enough. Maybe there is a lot of follow-up about the post-COVID-19 effects of the vaccine, etc. But to me, it just seems like there's not a lot of science out there, but people just coming up with their own conclusions, right? Okay, and definitely, Silviana, it shouldn't be something that just becomes normal. As humans, as 8 billion humans on Earth, this is obviously a very important part of the process following up, right? So, anyway. Before YouTube goes, let's read the passage. Okay. All right. Well, you gotta have fun with it, right? What is life if you're not having fun? All right. So let's do this. Let's read aloud. Let's do it together. We've definitely gone down in viewership. Maybe it's being controlled. All right. So here we go, students. Let's read this together aloud. I'm going to lead, I will read, and then you read with me. We can take a quick look at the questions here before we read to see what's going on, okay? We have complete the summary below. Choose one word only from the passage. When you see the summary completion questions, they are paraphrasing the passage, so they're good to kind of read over before you read the passage, okay? And then here we have match the following phases with facts about them from the passage. Okay, so this is a matching type question. Here, it's also good to read the information because it's all somewhere in the passage again. Okay, so let's read over these questions and then we'll read the passage. Here we go. So introduction and background to the World Health Organization's role in a pandemic. The World Health Organization is in charge of global public health. In the case of a pandemic, it gives countries expert analysis, and pandemics are different from epidemics. When epidemics are geographically isolated, pandemics often cross something borders. While HIV and AIDS was considered a pandemic, something was not, since it was geographically isolated. Post-peak action of the WHO. Once the pandemic's severity has peaked, the WHO is focused on health impacts as well as something impacts. Additionally, the organization prepares for the virus's possible second something. Notably, health can be severely affected by a pandemic, as measures like social distancing and self-isolation can degrade one's psychological well-being. Some of the other side effects of a successful pandemic response can be mass unemployment, increased in the frequency of something, and homelessness. Match the following phases with facts about them from the passage. Phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, A, B, C, D, E, F. 34. Human-to-human transfer is confirmed in 2 countries with the same WHO region. The goal is to limit the virus to a small geographical area. Small groups of infected persons are confirmed. A virus exists in more than one WHO region. Confirmation within a laboratory that the virus has infected a human being. Transfer between people is established. A report of infection in humans has been made. Okay, great. So we read through these. If there are some new words or some of these sentences are not clear, don't stop and think about them, especially not in the real IELTS exam, okay? You don't need to. The goal here is just to get a general idea of what is happening in this passage. As long as you got that, you are doing just great, okay? You will have a better idea once you read the passage. Now, you should read the passage, okay? If you're having troubles reading the passage within the 20-minute time frame, it does become difficult to get a good score anyways. And your reading skills when you go to an English-speaking society has to be good enough to read one of these passages and answer these questions in 20 minutes. You don't have to get them all correct, but you need to be able to read the whole passage and answer the questions. Okay? All right, so the sooner you get to that level, the better you are. All right, let's do this, students. So let's read this together. Here we go. How is my reading speed? Is it okay? Everybody's able to follow along? Would you like me to read a bit faster or read a bit slower? What's your feeling? Or read at the pace that you should be reading during the real exam, right? That should be your answer. Adrian, why don't you just read the speed we should be reading, right? Selviana and Rukwea says, it's okay. All right. Okay, so I will read at the speed that you should read during the real IELTS, okay? Here we go. Let's do this. The role of the World Health Organization in a pandemic. Let's check the time. I got 6:05 on my end. We got about 7-8 minutes to read. The World Health Organization, WHO, is the United Nations agency responsible for international public health. Its main goal is that all people achieve the highest possible level of health. Founded in 1948 and headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, the WHO employs 7,000 people in 150 countries in order to achieve its global health goals. Among the WHO's many responsibilities is in providing expertise and guidance in the case of a global viral pandemic. Now, I just suddenly realized that I've got an answer here, I believe, expertise and guidance, but I'm not going to stop and jump to the answers. That's not a good way to do it. Okay, I'm going to continue reading. I'm going to remember that I saw this here anyway, right? And you don't need to underline in the paper-based exam. Okay, I'm just doing this to show you. Notice how I read the introduction a little bit slower. It's very important that you understand the introductory paragraph, so don't start fast. Everybody got that? That's a really important tip. Okay? Don't start fast. It's very important. If you don't understand the introductory paragraph, that's going to be a serious issue in your reading, okay? So do not start fast. In fact, start slow if anything. Because it is very important that the introduction is as clear as possible. Okay, so here we go. A pandemic is defined as an epidemic of a disease or illness caused by a virus occurring worldwide or over a very wide area, crossing international boundaries and usually affecting a large number of people. For example, HIV/AIDS is considered a pandemic, while the outbreak of Ebola in West Africa from 2013 to 2016 was not considered a pandemic because it was geographically isolated. Instead, the Ebola outbreak was considered an epidemic. While the WHO has a role to play in both epidemics and pandemics, its pandemic response is much more complex. Multiple stakeholders, cultures, nations, and interests must be taken into account when managing the outbreak. The WHO designates 6 stages of a pandemic. Phase 1. A virus circulating, often in animals, has been reported to cause infections in humans. Phase 2. There's laboratory confirmation of the human infection reported in phase 1. Okay, I'm visualizing this. Phase 3. There are small clusters of infection, but these are of a low number, and widespread community infection is not present. Phase 4. Human-to-human transfer is confirmed, and there are widespread community-level outbreaks. Phase 5. The virus attains a phase 4 level in at least 2 countries in the same WHO region, for example, the African region. Phase 6. The virus attains a phase 5 level in at least 1 country in a different WHO region, for example, a virus originating in the African region and spreading to the Southeast Asia region. After phase 6, there is a post-peak period when the virus begins to decline, the risk of a possible new wave reoccurrence of the virus, and post-pandemic period where normalcy returns. There are recommended actions associated with each of the 6 phases and the after periods. These actions are categorized into 5 components: planning and coordination, situation monitoring and assessment, reducing the spread of disease, continuity of healthcare provision, and communications. All right. So far, so good. In phases 1 to 3, the emphasis is on planning and coordination, as well as situation monitoring and assessment. The WHO's main goal at this point is to strengthen pandemic preparedness at regional, national, and subnational levels and to ensure each jurisdiction has the capacity to respond to the pandemic that may be affecting it soon. In phase 4, WHO's goal is to contain the virus within a limited area and prevent its spread from this area. Even if the virus cannot be contained, containment efforts can buy valuable time to develop and implement potential medical interventions, such as vaccines. In phases 5 and 6, the WHO's emphasis shifts from preparedness to global level response. One of the key events in a pandemic is its designation as a global pandemic, which is done at the direction of the Director General of the WHO. While done in consultation with relevant organizations, institutions, and nations, ultimately it is the decision of the WHO and its Director General that carries the most weight. Such a designation carries immense weight, both from a public health perspective and from a social perspective. For example, for many people, the WHO declaration of COVID-19 as a global pandemic on 11 March 2020 was a wake-up call that the virus was incredibly serious and that measures would be put into place by national and regional health authorities in accordance with the WHO pandemic response directives. Actions taken by the WHO in the post-peak period are focused on the health and social impact of the pandemic and those people and nations affected, as well as preparation for a possible second wave of the virus. In the post-pandemic period, WHO efforts aim to restore normal functions while addressing the midterm and long-term impacts of the pandemic. For example, measures such as self-isolation and social distancing carry immense mental health side effects, while measures such as widespread business closures carry enormous side effects such as mass unemployment, potential crime rate increases, homelessness, and other unknown effects. The World Health Organization's emphasis is on prevention of a global pandemic, but it also has a key role in both the high-stakes latter phases of a pandemic and the after stages. People are often quick to critique the WHO for perceived inaction or delayed action, but the WHO's protocols, developed over decades of pandemic response, have proven effective in mitigating the destructive effects of global viruses. All right, so we read that in exactly 9 minutes, and that was with about a 1 to 2 minute instructions from me as well, so probably a little bit faster, more about 7 minutes. Okay, so you have about that much time to read the passage and visualize it, even a little bit slower. So as long as you have 8 to 9 minutes for the questions, you're good. Okay, was that really fast reading? No, it wasn't super fast. Can you read faster? Yes. Is it a good idea? Maybe not, especially if you're not understanding what you read. Okay. So good practice here, if you're in partners, is to ask each other questions even before you get to the questions. Okay. All right. Let's answer the questions together, and I'm going to get our members to help me do this. Okay. So we're going to use the website, and I'm going to get some volunteers to read this passage again and to answer questions. Okay. All right. So here we go. We're going to do it a little bit differently today. So I'm going to get you members to volunteer. Welcome, Kuolin. It's nice to have you on board. It's good to see a couple new members joining in for sure today. Here's what you do to volunteer for reading. Okay. We're going to use our website, aehelp.com. It's just the same as when we do speaking, except this time we're going to read, okay? Go to your My Student account, student partner speaking function, and then make sure your microphone, your browser, your internet are all good, or as good as possible. And then volunteer. Send me a message, say, I'd like to read, okay? All right. So again, aehelp.com. This is our academic IELTS website. Click the big red button that's just above my head there to join the premium package. Get all of our materials, practice exams, reading passages. You're in your My Student account. You got your computer-based exams, your interactive course. You have audio CDs for a lot of the reading as well. Use those. Okay. And then click on Student Partner Speaking and accept the terms that you're responsible for your words, and then volunteer. Send me a message. You will see me as master. You'll see a name here that will be master in this section, and then click on the blue envelope, okay? Like Alexi just did. Let's reach out to Alexi. Okay, Alexi, are you ready? I will always send you a message. It kind of tests our connection and also makes sure that you didn't just jump up and run away for a moment. All right, here we go.
Hello.
Hi, Alexi. How are you?
I'm awesome. What about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I don't know if I would say awesome, but I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. All right. Alexi, are you ready to help me out with this passage a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So what I'm going to get you to do this time is read the question. So read this first bit here that starts with introduction and background, this summary completion. And then we'll take a look at the passage, okay? So go ahead, and whenever you're ready, you should see it on the screen.
Yeah, okay. Introduction and background of the World Health Organization's role in a pandemic. The World Health Organization is in charge of global public health. In the case of pandemic, it gives countries expert analysis and blank. Pandemics are different from epidemics.
Okay, let's stop there. Let's stop there for a second.
Okay.
So we'll take it a question at a time. So not always, but sometimes certain questions follow the order of the passage. Okay. So in this case, we can see that, and it's very obvious because they tell us, right? So it says introduction and background. So, I mean, it's basically saying this is the introductory paragraph, right? However, that's not always the case, so you need to be careful. Like this one here, the next one that says which one is the right phase. We know that's kind of in the middle, and the questions are going to be randomly organized, right? Obviously, they're not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It could be, but probably not, right? But in this question, it is in the order of the passage, so that's helpful for us, right? Now, when you're doing this kind of summary completion, it's kind of like multiple choice. As long as you've read the passage, you should have an idea. So before you start searching the passage, it's a good idea to try to think of what the answer could be. So, Alexi, number 27, what do you think might be the answer that goes in there? What word do you think might go in there?
I guess it can be prevent.
Okay.
Prevention.
It has to be, right. It has to be a noun, right? Because analysis is a noun. So it's not analyze. Analyze would be the verb, right? But it's analysis, which is the noun. So it has to be a noun. So now put that word in there and then read the sentence.
The World Health Organization is in charge of global public health. In the case of a pandemic, it gives countries expert analysis and prevention.
Does that make sense?
Pandemics are different. I presume maybe.
To give prevention. What do you think? In English, would we say to give prevention?
No.
Probably not, right? It's you can feel that that's a bit awkward. Like, how do you give somebody prevention? You prevent,
It
but you
doesn't
don't.
sound good.
You would suggest ways to prevent, right? But you don't actually give prevention. So you realize that, okay, prevention doesn't really work, right? Okay, so you go, okay, well, I'm going to have to take a look at this. So what's my next step? So what do you think you should do next? So you realize, okay, I'm having trouble filling in this blank on my own. I need to do something different. What's your next step here, Alexi?
Look at the introduction.
Okay, and specifically, what will you be looking for?
For information that World Health Organization is doing.
Sure, right? I would look especially for the concept of expert analysis, right? So any concept that's that, or maybe those exact words. So let's jump back to the beginning here, and take a look. Let's see if you can find it. It's somewhere in the introduction. Look for the concept of expert analysis. Okay.
Yeah, providing expertise and guidance.
Guidance, right? So what's the word that goes in there?
Guidance.
Guidance, right? Because expertise would be the analysis, and then guidance would be the second element, right? So helping people what to do, right? Now, it of course helped that I had that underlined, right? But that's the word. Okay, guidance, sure. All right. Good. Let's do one more. Okay, so go for the next one. Read from pandemics. Never skip information in these summary completions. So read from pandemics are different.
Pandemics are different from epidemics. While epidemics are geographically isolated, pandemics often cross blank borders.
Okay, so following the same logic, what word do you think should go into 28?
It's more complicated
Don't think
than it
about
was in the first one.
don't think about what you can't do, or don't think about the don't look at it like, so be the mountain climber that is excited to get to the top of the mountain. Don't be the mountain climber that thinks, oh my goodness, that's a big mountain, right? So don't be that guy. So always be optimistic when you're thinking about the answers. And believe me, when I say it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that should be easy, right? You definitely shouldn't be searching for all of these. So take a look again. Before you start searching the text, it's much more effective and faster to just take a second look at the information that's given, because you can figure it out. So take another look.
Often cross organization borders.
Okay. The sentence that comes after guidance, that's giving you a lot of information. What is being compared there?
And
pandemics and epidemics, right? So pandemics are different from epidemics. What's a pandemic? What's the difference between a pandemic versus an epidemic? Pandemic is global. Epidemic is
geographically isolated.
Yes, it's local, right? Exactly, as you said. So it's local. Now, panda or pend, actually in Latin, is the concept of global. When the world was one big continent, it was called Pangea, right? So again, this is all connected: geography, Latin, etc. Pandemic, right? Epidemic. So it says, while epidemics, it gives you even more information, right? It says, while epidemics are geographically isolated, so they're in one place, pandemics often cross something borders. What's the word? And it's good that you're not looking at the chat, because your classmates are giving you the answer, but don't look just yet. So what kind of borders can we cross? Think about common collocations. That's another good tip here. So what words often come together in English? Something border. What kind of border?
States borders.
No. So again, if you're stuck, I mean, at this point, you have no other option than to go back and look at the text, okay? However, Alexi, the goal of doing the reading section effectively is that you're getting at least half of these answers without reading the text. So we can go back, but this, of course, is going to take time in the real exam, and we can check out what's happening here. Take a look at the next paragraph and read it. You'll see it in a second. A pandemic is defined.
International boundaries.
Oh, you read. Okay, I think you were reading quietly. I thought you were going to read aloud. Yeah, international. And notice how it doesn't say borders. So if somebody is skim reading for borders, they're going to have trouble. So here, the correct word is international borders, right?
Yes.
So, and we know it's an adjective because borders is the noun, right? So international. All right. Now you're probably like, oh, why didn't I get that? Of course, international border, right? And you go from one country to another, you're crossing an international border. Inter, between, nations, international borders. All right. Alexi, not bad, not bad. So you've got, good skills for English as far as speaking, pronunciation, fluency, but definitely work on that reading comprehension, okay?
Okay.
So lots of reading leading up to your IELTS exam, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Alexi. Keep in the class. I'll keep going with more questions, okay?
Thank you.
All right, bye for
Have
now.
a nice day.
So let's give Alexi a thumbs up. He was the first. It's a lot of pressure, and it looks easy, but when you do it yourself, it can be more challenging. Okay. All right. So pandemic, right? And if you think about the pandemic we just had, it was global. So it's international borders that are being crossed. Okay. All right. Frost, one of our new premium students. Let's see if we can catch Frost here. Frost, are you ready? If you're there, let me know. We'll keep going. Okay. Good. Frost, I can't hear you. I'm not sure what kind of connection you have or what device you're using, but check it out. Try to connect with one of the other premium students in the chat and see what's going on, okay? So ask them what kind of devices or connections they're using, laptops, VPNs, etc. And you can figure it out, okay? So, all right, sounds good. I see that you answered okay in the chat, okay? All right, let's try Chayani. We haven't heard from her in a bit. Chayani, are you ready? One of our longtime members, Chayani, a very studious person. Let's see if Chayani is here. Chayani, if you're there, give me a sign and we'll connect. I think you're still there because I see you in the chat. Yes, okay.
Hi, Sir Adrian.
Hi, Chayani. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great today. How about you?
I am doing all right. Thank you for asking. I was playing hockey last night and I'm a little bit exhausted today, but I'm doing good. It's a good tired. It's a good tired. All right, Chayani, let's keep going here. So I've brought the text back up. Whenever you're ready, read from While HIV.
While HIV or AIDS was considered a pandemic, something was not since it was geographically isolated.
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 Yeah, just like island, isolated island. Okay, what do you think it is? What's 29?
It's Ebola, I guess.
Ah, very good. Yes. It's hardcore to say, but that was pretty easy to visualize, right? I think most of us have heard of Ebola and we know that it's just terrible. It's terrible the way what it does to humans. So it's, I mean, if somebody doesn't remember Ebola, if somebody knows what Ebola is and they don't remember it from the passage, then you really have to pay attention to your reading comprehension, because a word like Ebola should not be easily forgotten when you read it. Would you agree with me, Chayani?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, unfortunately. It's a tragic truth, but Ebola is such a severe illness, right? It's such a scary one. So how do you spell it?
E strip bola.
Spell it for me, English spelling. What's the English spelling?
E strip BOLA.
Oh, you mean like hyphen? No, there's no hyphen. So it's Ebola. And the E has to be big, right? Because it's the name of a disease. Ebola, like that. Okay. Now, here's the good news, Chani. If you don't know the spelling, if you think that there's a hyphen like that, okay, it's called a hyphen. Repeat after me, Chani. Hyphen.
Hyphen.
Yeah, it's not. There's no hyphen there. But here's the good news. If you know it's Ebola, it's a name. It's extremely easy to locate because you know exactly what you're looking for. So you can check the spelling. Like I can see it right here. And it appears a couple of times in the text, but you can catch it fast with your eyes because it's a name. So it's just it pops out. Okay. All right. Good. Let's keep going. So that was the first bit. Now we realize, okay, these are going with the passage. All right. So read from post-peak action of the WHO.
Post-peak action of the WHO. Once the pandemic's severity has peaked, the WHO is focused on health impacts as well as something impacts.
Okay. What do you think is the answer for number 30?
I think it's economic impacts.
Okay. All right. So we put in the word economic. So you think economic impacts?
Maybe.
Could be. All right. So you put it in, and then how confident are you? 50, 60%, 80%, 100%?
10%.
I was hoping for a little bit more than that. 10% is definitely not enough. All right. So in the real exam, if this is happening, right, where you're like, okay, 10%, put it in. Don't search. Okay, because at this point it could take you a long time to find that word, especially since it's a very common looking adjective, right? And you might not see the word impact. What other word might you see instead of impact in the text?
Effect.
Effect, exactly, right? So instead of impact, you might see the word effects, which is fine. But that word can appear in a lot of places, and it might take a minute to figure that out. So what you should do at this, in the real exam in this case, is leave it, keep going. Why? Why do you think I would suggest you to just keep going? If you think it's economic impact, it's fine, and you just keep going. Why would I say that?
Maybe because when I focus just one question, it's like wasting time for me because I experienced that.
Yeah. And also along with that, if you keep going, at least to the end of this question set, there's a good chance that you might actually figure out the better answer once you look at the next part of the paragraph, because it's all connected, right? The information. And you might realize that, oh, it's not just economic, but, and you'll see what I mean. Okay. So keep reading from additionally.
Additionally, the organization prepares for the virus possible second something.
Okay, put in what you think is there.
Let me think.
Possible second.
Second problem.
Okay, second problem, sure. Yeah, and I recommend doing this for everybody. So what we're doing with Chayani, I highly recommend doing this when you're looking at this type of summary completion question, where you just try to fill it out. Don't even worry about practice this at home, okay? So fill it all out, and then we'll make sense of it. Keep going, Chayani. So notably, number 32. Keep going.
Notably, something health can be severely affected by a pandemic as measures like social distancing, self-isolating, and can degrade one's physiological well-being.
Sorry, what kind of well-being can degrade one's?
Psychological well-being.
Okay, good. Yeah, be confident, Chinese. Psychological well-being, good. So what do you think is number 32?
Mm,
Again, it's an adjective, right? Because it's something health.
Maybe like a wave, I guess.
Say that one more time.
A wave.
Always health?
A wave.
Spell it for me.
WAVE.
W-A-T-E?
VE.
Louder, Chinese.
WVE. WAVE.
W-A-C-E?
V. Wave of the ocean, I guess.
Oh, wave. Wave health? No. Are you looking at the chat or something? 'Cause
No, to be honest, no.
that's gonna confuse you. Okay. What kind of health do people have? Keep it simple. People have usually two types of health. Their physical health and their...
I changed my mind. Mental health.
Okay, good. All right. Simple Chinese, simple thoughts, okay? I think that sometimes what happens to a lot of people who are taking the IELTS exam is they overcomplicate it. They think it's difficult, so they make it difficult. And because they think it's difficult and they make it difficult, they end up with the wrong answers. Oftentimes, the answers are not as complex as people think, okay? So it's an important point to keep in mind. All right, keep going and read this last sentence here. Some of the other.
Some of the other side effects of successful pandemic response can be mass employment, increase the frequency of blah blah blah, and homelessness.
Okay, and what is that blah blah blah?
Crime.
Okay, good. All right, so what you want to do at home, students, with the help of Chayani here, is exactly what Chayani just did. Read the paragraph after you've read the passage. Fill in each of the blanks according to what you think is the best answer without searching, without skimming, without scanning, just like that new video that we released. Have you seen that new video, Chayani, that we released about reading?
I have done. I got the 3 of mistake of the question.
Good. That's pretty decent. There's a lot better techniques, okay? And then once you've filled in all the blanks here with economic, problem, mental, and crime, then you read over the paragraph nice and fast and see if you still think those are the right answers or if you change your mind as you're reading through them. So jump back to the top here, Chayani, with once the pandemic, and then read nice and smooth, and as soon as you get to the end of the sentence, tell me if you want to keep that answer, if you want to change it, okay? So based on the information in this paragraph, okay? So go ahead and read it.
Once the pandemic severity has peaked, the WHO is focused on health impacts as well as, I want to take worldwide impacts.
Worldwide impacts, okay, sure.
Additionally, the organization prepares for the virus' possible second problem. Notably, mental health can be severely affected by a pandemic, as measures like social distancing and self-isolation can degrade one's physical well-being. Some other side effect of a successful pandemic response can be mass employment, increase in the frequency of crime, and homelessness.
Okay, happy with those?
A half.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, you should be. You're 50% correct. So you've got number 32 and number 33 correct. Number 30 and 31 are wrong. But hey, you know what? It's not the end of the world. You're on the right track, okay? Use logic, Chani. So focused on health impacts as well as worldwide impacts. The reason my logic tells me, Chani, that this is wrong is because a health impact is a worldwide impact. Okay, so health impact would be a part of worldwide impact, so it wouldn't make sense to have this as worldwide impact because that's not different from health impact. Remember what I keep saying for writing task 2 when you write your thesis points, that they have to be mutually exclusive, so they can't overlap or they can't have the same concept. In good essay writing, your key points are always separable. They're separate from each other. So here, health impacts is not completely separate from worldwide impacts because the health impacts are worldwide impacts. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
So here it would have to be some kind of a different type of adjective. With economic, you were actually closer. If we look at economics, okay, it's a part of a bigger impact. That bigger impact, as a few of our members realized in the chat, who was it? Somebody, I think, had the right answer there a little bit earlier. It's social impacts, right? So social, and part of the social impacts is economic impact. It's crime, it's homelessness. All of those are the social impacts of a pandemic, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Now, of course, those answers in the real test where you're really unsure, those are the ones that you could search for, right? And then the virus's possible second something, right? So second wave would be good there, or outbreak. Okay. And you could check to see if that's listed. So second is something that we could look for. It's something that we could search for. The correct answer there was wave. But you've got the right idea, okay? As long as you practice that a few times in this way at home, you will increase your accuracy for sure, okay?
Okay, sir.
All right. Jenny, thank you so much for working through that question with me. I appreciate it, and have an awesome rest of the day, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Adrian.
Bye, Chani.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. That was Chayani. That was good. All right. Okay, good. So everybody's following along nicely there. Let's take another one of our members. This is our members. Okay. Frost says, I just installed VPN. Okay, let's try it, Frost. Are you ready? Let's try your VPN. Hopefully you're routing through a country that will work through the system. Okay, let's see. Frost, I think, who was it? I think Andrew said that routing through Portugal or through some of the European countries works really well. Okay, here we go. Frost, are you there? Frost, I still can't hear you, but I think you're in the right direction using a VPN. What I recommend is try a different world region. So if you're VPNing through Canada, maybe try the US or try a European country like Spain or something like that, okay? Or Portugal. Look for a good band connection, and then we'll give it another go in a bit, okay? All right, but don't give up, okay? It does work. Andrew did it the other week, okay? All right, let's reach out to Romelia. We haven't heard her in a while. Romelia, are you ready? We'll look at some other questions here. Guys, girls, don't be nervous. Chayani, Alexi, don't be nervous. It's okay. All right. Hi, Romelia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. How are you?
Not bad, thank you.
All right, good. Romelia, are you ready to help me with these phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions?
I'm ready, but it's not my favorite part.
You shouldn't have favorites in the IELTS.
I know.
You should just look at all of this as a test. All right.
I'm well aware of this. So
Okay.
I have a favorite.
So, Romelia, we read phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Before we even look at the questions, what was that about? So what was this phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? In the passage. It was in the kind of in the middle of the passage.
Oh, like
here.
put them in order? I don't know the task.
No, you don't have to put them in order, but just tell me what it was, right? So I brought it up on the screen. It says here, the WHO designates 6 stages of a pandemic, right? Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
All right. And what do you remember from those 6 stages?
It's not clear what do I have to do.
You just have to tell me what was stage 1, what was stage 2, what is this all about? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so the reported virus, laboratory confirmation.
So what are we looking at?
Yeah.
Simply
Now
put,
I understand.
Simply put, what are we looking at here?
Like how the pandemic developed, basically.
Yeah, exactly, right? The spread of the pandemic. Now, this is not just for Romelia, this is for everybody else. When you read a passage, you should definitely have a fairly good idea of this information when you get to the question. So if you completely forgot what was this phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're not reading well. It's bad news, okay? You shouldn't be like, oh, what was that? I don't remember anything about that. Was that instructions on how to bake a cake? That would be a bad position to be in, right? So, Romelia, here's the question. How can I remember this? So what should I be doing to remember these phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this passage?
For me, I think would work to have some keywords. Like, for example, phase 1, virus, animals, and womb. Come on.
I would argue with you, Romelia. I'd get into an academic debate. I'd be like, well, madame, I disagree. That would be my... What do you think, everybody? What would I do? So what would I say to Romelia? What would I say she should be doing? And not just Romelia, but everybody else. What do you think I would say? Let's look at the chat, Romelia. Let's see what people come up with. Look at what Philo says. Philo's on my side.
Yeah, like using my imagination.
Yeah, you should visualize it, right? Absolutely. When you have this like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you should, in my opinion, you should be using your visual prowess, your visual powers. So phase 1, virus circulating, often in animals, has been reported to cause infections in humans. What can we visualize here, Romelia?
Like one person was identified with the virus from animals.
Who's the person?
Maybe a patient reported from emergency room somewhere.
What's the animal?
Depend on the virus.
No, Romelia, no. I want you to be active. I want you to visualize. So if I'm reading this effectively...
To be more on the ball, yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm reading this effectively, Romelia, what I'm doing here is... It's me. I'm the human. And I just got bit by a chihuahua. Ruff, ruff, ruff. You know what a chihuahua is? Chihuahua? Chihuahua, one of those little tiny dogs, small little dog.
Exactly. Yeah.
Little chihuahua. Now just imagine a little rabid chihuahua. Rabid chihuahua means the chihuahua's foaming at the mouth. It's got bubbles coming out of its face, and it's got red eyes, and it's like, and it bit me. Ah! And now suddenly I'm all sick. I'm like, oh no! Now I'm foaming at the mouth, right? I'm in phase 1. Okay? That's me.
Yeah.
Now, if we think about COVID was supposedly a bat, right? And the bat got somebody at the wet market, right? You have to visualize. You have to make it real. It will work much more effectively when you're getting there. Okay, phase 2. There's laboratory confirmation of the human infection. So I get taken to the hospital. The doctor's looking at me. They're like, yep, he's foaming at the mouth. He's definitely got rabies. Okay. Phase 3. There are small clusters
The
of
blood
infections.
sample tested positive for the virus.
Right? So we keep visualizing. You keep going with this, right? You keep seeing it. Okay? Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah,
right? So
definitely.
that's what you want to do in this situation, and then it's going to be a lot easier and a lot less stressful. Okay, let's try to do this. Number 34. Can you read that one? And it will be on your screen in a moment.
Okay. So 34 should be one of the last phases, but not the last.
So
before the last.
So
Human to
read
human
it.
transfer confirmed into countries within the same region.
So you're thinking phase 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I would put phase 5, which is, make sure if you're doing the paper-based exam, it would be E, right? Now, as long as you're close, it's okay. You can confirm it, right? So if I jump back here and I look at phase 5, it says the virus attains phase 4 level in at least 2 countries in the same WHO region. Perfect, right? In fact, I didn't even need to search for this, because when I visualized it, I pictured people in Canada, people in the US foaming at the mouth from Chihuahua rabies. So I knew that was 5, okay? All right, good for you, Romelia. Read number 35.
35. The goal is to limit the virus to a small geographical area. So it's not havoc yet, so to speak. It's just maybe a small area, maybe phase 4, because in phase 3 is not among community. So yeah, I would say 4. Phase 4.
Very good. Phase 4. So D, right? Okay.
In this phase, the approach should be effective.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Read number 36.
Small groups of infected persons are confirmed. Maybe this is 3 small groups, but not a whole community.
Yeah, I would do a quick check here. So I would go, okay. 3. There are small clusters of infections. Okay, that's good. So I checked. I'm on the right track, just to make sure. And I keep going. Yep. Number 37.
37. A virus exists in more than one region. Maybe 5 or something. Yeah, I should read again.
No, you don't have to. Remember, you already gave 5 as one answer. You gave it for number 34. Okay, so if you want to be faster here, Romelia, because you already gave that answer once, and you
it's 4. Then
Wait. Don't rush, Romelia, don't rush. Just a second. Logic. You never, and this is a very important tip, everybody, you never want to find yourself rushing in the IELTS. And this is especially difficult when you feel like you're running out of time. Now, this is passage 3 in this exam, which means that this could very well be the situation. These questions seem easier in some ways, but in the real test, this would be like the last 2-3 minutes of your reading section before it finishes and you can no longer do anything. So you have to be calm and very strategic and not rushing. Okay, so the question just a second, Romelia.
If not 5, then 6. The last one, more than one reason.
Yes, but you're jumping ahead, so just let me explain it to everybody else, but you're on the right track. So the question says, note, by the way, you may use any letter more than once. So it could be E, it could be 5. When you've already given the answer, then just double check to see if it makes sense. So Romelia for number 34 said it's number 5 correctly. We confirmed that. We looked at it. Human to human transfer is confirmed in 2 countries within the same WHO region. So we have the same WHO region here.
Yeah, makes sense.
A virus exists in more than one WHO region.
Exactly.
So now you suddenly realize logically that, okay, it has to be F6 if 34 is E. That makes sense. So I'm not going to jump around and rush, right, Romelia?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good. You're doing great. Number 38, Romelia.
Confirmation within a laboratory that the virus has infected a human being. This probably should be 2, number 2.
B, yes, which
because
is B. Yeah. Because Adrian is in the hospital with a foaming mouth having rabies, right?
Yeah.
That's terrible, Romelia. I'm kidding. You're like, yeah. I kid with you, Romelia. Okay, number 39, Romelia.
Transfer between people is established. This is a tricky one. Between people, so not from animals to people, but between people. Maybe 1, the first one.
Use logic. So if 38 was confirmation within the laboratory that the virus has infected a human being as number 2, then transfer between people is established should be
1.
3, right? Because you don't deny yourself. Romelia, don't deny yourself. You just said that it's not animals. So if it's animal to human, if you said it's animal to human is number 1, then it cannot be human to human, right? Human to human has
I'm a disaster at reading.
You're not a disaster. Everybody, this is for Alexi and everybody and Romelia, because Alexi did the same thing. The mountain is not as big as you think. You can get to the top, okay? So don't look at it negatively, okay? And this is not reading, Romelia. This is logic. So animal to human, human is in the hospital. The doctor or the nurse just got sick, right? Human to human, okay? So A, B, C, right? Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Number 40, the last one.
A report of infection in humans had been made. This is number 1.
This is A. Yes. Adrian got bit by the rabid chihuahua and he's foaming at the mouth. Okay. So that's A. All right. That's how you do it. This question, definitely a lot more logic involved and visualization than searching. A lot of people would automatically think that what they need to do here is just keep searching the phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, because that's actually quite slow. And this is the end of passage 3. You don't usually have a lot of time.
Yeah, would be more time consuming.
Way more and probably less accurate too. And then you start panicking because you're running out of time, right? So that's not the right way. Okay, Romelia, thank you so much for volunteering. And you're not bad at reading. You're good at reading. Stop saying things like that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Bye, Romelia. It was good to hear your voice.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right, let's give Romelia a thumbs up. So that was it, okay? Ladies, gentlemen, logic, okay? Different strategies. Skimming and scanning is not your main technique, all right? That leads to frustration and running out of time, just like we've said in our most recent video. Everybody follow me on that, hopefully, okay? If you haven't seen that video, please check it out. We explain it very, very clearly in this video why skimming and scanning is not a perfect strategy for those band 7, 8, 9 scores. All right, so you check that out if you haven't done that yet. All right, everybody, we've got listening class coming up for subscribers. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. It will be parts 3 and 4 for the listening test we started last week. And all of this material comes from our websites, aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com. Make sure to go to the websites and sign up for our premium IELTS course, clicking on that big red button there. Okay, that's where you want to be. General IELTS, gieltshelp.com. You'll find general IELTS reading passages here. They will be different than academic, because reading is different in the general. Thank you so much for all of your hard work, students. And I did see many of our members volunteering, so I will be looking for you in classes, especially tomorrow. Okay, in listening, we don't really do much volunteering, but tomorrow we'll have it in speaking. So Phuong, Mal, Philo, make sure, Frost, make sure to keep working on that VPN if you haven't figured it out, and join me. I'll be back in about half an hour with listening, everybody. So take a short break, grab a glass of water, stay hydrated, stretch your legs. I'm going to do the same. Then I will be back with some more IELTS strategies and help for the listening section. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from Victoria for now, but I'll be back shortly. Bye, everybody.